The Alaska-Canada Highway, often referred to as the ALCAN, is far more than just a simple road etched into the landscape. It represents a vital artery connecting Alaska to the rest of the North American continent. It's Alaska's lifeline, providing a crucial ground transportation link to the rest of the United States, enabling the flow of essential goods and services. Without it, Alaska would face significant challenges in maintaining its economy and supporting its communities. Stretching through the vast and often unforgiving terrains of British Columbia and the Yukon Territory, the ALCAN Highway cuts through some of the most stunning wilderness in North America. It serves as a vital link for the transportation of goods, essential services, and the movement of people, connecting remote communities and facilitating travel for both residents and tourists alike. This highway is instrumental in supporting Alaska's economy and facilitating daily life for countless individuals who depend on it for access to supplies, healthcare, and other necessities. While sea and air routes certainly exist and play a role in Alaska's transportation network, the highway remains the most direct, reliable, and flexible option for commercial shipping, personal travel, and the overall movement of goods and services. For decades, this vital transportation corridor has symbolized something far greater than just a road. It has represented the enduring and close partnership between the United States and Canada, fostering collaboration and mutual benefit. But now, that long-standing partnership and the stability of this crucial route are under threat, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the region. British Columbia's newly proposed plans and policies have the potential to significantly disrupt this essential transportation route, raising concerns about potential economic and logistical repercussions. These developments are raising alarms and sparking debate on both sides of the border as stakeholders grapple with the potential consequences of these changes. What was once universally recognized as a symbol of international cooperation and shared prosperity is now unexpectedly finding itself at the very center of a high-stakes political battle, with significant implications for the future of the region. Let's delve deeper and explore how this complex conflict began to unfold, and more importantly, what it ultimately means for everyone who directly or indirectly depends on the Alaska Highway for their livelihoods, access to resources, and overall quality of life. British Columbia, a province known for its stunning landscapes and vibrant economy, is now taking a bold step in response to ongoing trade tensions. Led by Premier David Eby, the provincial government is signaling a significant shift in its relationship with the United States. The province has introduced legislation with a potentially far-reaching impact, imposing tolls on U.S. commercial trucks that traverse its roads en route to Alaska. This move, while seemingly targeted, carries broader implications for trade and economic cooperation between the two nations. The Alaska Highway, a vital artery for commerce, is now at the center of this dispute. This decision is not made in isolation. It's a direct response to a series of economic pressures that have been building over time, creating a climate of uncertainty and prompting British Columbia to assert its economic interests. These pressures largely stem from the trade policies enacted by the Trump administration, policies that have reshaped trade relationships and prompted a reassessment of economic strategies across the globe. The ripple effects of these policies continue to be felt, influencing decisions at the provincial level. While the legislation is in place, the tolls themselves aren't active yet. The infrastructure is ready, but the switch hasn't been flipped. They're a warning shot across the bow, a clear signal of British Columbia's resolve. The toll system is ready to be deployed swiftly if the U.S. escalates the situation further. This is a preemptive measure designed to deter further protectionist measures that could harm British Columbia's economy. The province is drawing a line in the sand. The intent is clear: to make access to Alaska more expensive and, by extension, less appealing for American businesses that rely on this crucial transportation route. What was once a long open and mutually beneficial route is now being strategically leveraged as a bargaining chip in a larger trade negotiation. But the tolls are just one piece of the puzzle. British Columbia is also actively reducing its purchases of American goods, seeking to diversify its supply chains and reduce its reliance on the U.S. market. Furthermore, the province is banning certain U.S. products from government liquor stores, sending a direct message about its dissatisfaction with current trade dynamics. Taken together, these actions mark a dramatic shift in British Columbia's approach to trade relations with the United States. The province is effectively transforming a vital transportation corridor, the Alaska Highway, into a front line in what is becoming an increasingly tense and complex trade dispute. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of cooperation and connection, is no longer just a road for commerce and tourism. It's now a key piece of leverage in a high-stakes political and economic standoff. The question now is, how will the U.S. respond to these measures, and what will be the long-term consequences for trade relations between British Columbia and the United States? The world is watching. The roots of this complex dispute trace back to President Trump's America First trade policies. These policies, characterized by a focus on domestic production and protectionism, set the stage for a series of international trade disagreements. At the heart of the issue were tariffs imposed on Canadian goods, most notably steel and aluminum. These tariffs represented a significant shift in the long-standing trade relationship between the two nations. These tariffs, meant to protect and bolster U.S. industries by making imported goods more expensive, were intended to incentivize domestic production and create jobs within the United States. However, these measures have been perceived by Canada as not only unfair, but also as potentially damaging to both economies, disrupting established trade flows and supply chains. Canadian leaders have consistently argued that the two countries' economies are deeply intertwined, forming an intricate web of trade relationships and dependencies built over decades. They contend that tariffs, rather than benefiting either nation, ultimately hurt everyone involved by disrupting these established economic partnerships and potentially leading to job losses and reduced economic activity. In response to these tariffs, British Columbia's toll proposal emerged as a direct countermeasure. This proposal directly targets the only practical land route connecting the lower 48 states to Alaska, a critical artery for transportation and commerce. By potentially imposing a toll on this route, British Columbia gains a powerful point of leverage in the trade dispute. This tit-for-tat escalation is a classic example of trade war strategy, where each action provokes a reaction, leading to a cycle of increasing tension. It's a pattern of tariffs being met with countermeasures, each side attempting to exert pressure on the other to achieve its desired outcome. The result of this escalating conflict is that a vital transportation link, essential for the movement of goods and people, is now at risk of disruption. The situation has reached a point where both sides appear to be digging in, unwilling to back down from their respective positions, creating a political and economic stalemate. What initially started as a dispute over the trade of steel and aluminum has now expanded into a much broader and more complex issue. This conflict now threatens the daily lives and economic well-being of thousands of people who rely on the smooth flow of goods and services along this critical transportation corridor. The conflict has evolved into a significant political showdown, testing the strength and resilience of the relationship between the United States and Canada. Ultimately, this trade dispute carries real-world consequences, impacting families, businesses, and communities on both sides of the border. Alaska's leaders wasted no time pushing back. Senator Dan Sullivan warned British Columbia not to mess with Alaska, threatening to divert cruise ships from Canadian ports if tolls are imposed. President Trump amplified the conflict, calling Canada's actions hostile and rallying his supporters. Alaska's House of Representatives passed a resolution opposing Canadian tolls and even threatened to stop maintaining the highway section used by Canadians. The message from the U.S. is clear. Any move to weaponize the Alaska Highway will have consequences. Both state and federal leaders are united in defending Alaska's access and interests. The standoff is escalating, with each side ready to use its own leverage. The stakes for both economies, and for the people who rely on this route, are higher than ever. From Canada's perspective, these actions are defensive, not aggressive. Premier Eby insists the tolls are a last resort, necessary to protect British Columbia's economy from U.S. tariffs. Yukon's premier echoes this, emphasizing Canada's sovereignty and refusal to be bullied by its larger neighbor. Canadian officials argue they're forced into this position by unpredictable U.S. trade policies. Prime Minister Trudeau's government has tried to maintain cooperation, but provincial leaders feel they must be ready to retaliate. For Canada, this is about standing up to unfair protectionism and defending national interests. They recognize the risks to Alaskans, but see them as an unavoidable consequence of U.S. actions. In their view, this is a calculated stand for sovereignty and economic security. The real cost of this dispute falls on ordinary people. In Alaska, tolls would mean higher prices for groceries, fuel, and supplies, hitting families and small businesses hard. The tourism industry could suffer if travel becomes more expensive, hurting hotels, restaurants, and tour operators. In British Columbia, losing cruise ship traffic would be a major blow to cities like Vancouver and Victoria. If Alaska stops maintaining its section of the highway, Canadian truckers and tourists would also feel the pain. Trade wars aren't just about politicians. They impact lives and livelihoods on both sides of the border. The uncertainty is creating anxiety for families and business owners caught in the crossfire. The human cost is real, and it's growing as the standoff drags on. In times like these, misinformation spreads fast. One viral claim said President Trump planned to annex Alaska, a complete fabrication. Alaska has been the 49th state since 1959, and there's no plan to change that. Disinformation like this distracts from the real issues: tariffs, tolls, and the economic fallout. The heart of the conflict is about trade, not territory. Despite heated rhetoric, the U.S.-Canada relationship remains fundamentally strong. As the story unfolds, it's crucial to rely on credible sources and focus on the facts. Only by understanding the real stakes can we see what's truly at risk for both nations.